Hi, this is Bonnie, and today I wanted to share with you one of the Creative Expressions paper cuts that DiesRUs is offering. Usually when they do a special order, you really need to pay attention if you get their emails when they get their special orders. It's usually for a 3-day period. Actually, it usually starts like maybe on Friday night and it ends on Sunday night. So pretty much 2 days. So when they come out, there are a lot of dies that are available, kind of almost overwhelming, but if you take your time, you'll see some really cool ones and ideas. So this one in particular, I had purchased the last time there was a special order, and this one is called Celebration Cake Edger. This can be for a birthday, this can be for a wedding, it could be for anything, but I thought maybe I could show you a little bit. It's an edger card, which means if you look at this picture, this side cuts, but this side does not cut. So it's not this is the die upside down. So it's not one that's just I want to just say a single die. It actually attaches to part of the card. Now, it's true, you could come back in here probably and fussy cut that if you wanted to and make it so that it just is a standalone image. But if you want to see the intention behind why they made this die, I'll go ahead and show you. So I am using a 12 by 12 piece of paper. This is a little bit more like watercolor paper. It's a little bit thicker, and I had a reason for that. And basically what I'm doing, I'm going to try something different this time, is I pretty much know like where I want to cut this, and I'll show you why. When you look at this die, that's the end and that's the end that'll cut. You can still come back in and cut to that point if you don't go there. And I usually like have to because of where I do my cutting. But let's see what we can do. So I'm just having that go over a little bit over the edge there, and I'm going to draw a little line right here, knowing where I can cut straight across. So I'm bringing that back to my cutting board. It's really not that complicated, but you know, if you just start playing with it, it's kind of fun. So I can pretty much see where that is. I'm going to cut straight across. You're going to say, well, this is going to make a super wide card. It is, if I keep it this way. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and put this right on the edge, and it does overlap a little bit, and that's super. I am going to use some regular tape because my washi tape tends to be too thick when I cut it through, go through my die cutting machine. So a piece of tape there and a piece of tape there. And I'm going to run that through my die cutting machine, and I'll be right back. Oops, I forgot to tell you, depending on the size of your die cutting machine, this extends a little bit longer if you want to do a piece of paper that way. It really needs to be cut the other way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have that be extended just a little bit because it will probably lay on top of whatever I put. We'll see how that works. But that's the plan. I think this will be fine. We'll make that work. So I'm going to be cutting it like that, and that's okay if that has that edge like that, but I'm going to be cutting it like this because it'll fit through my die cutting machine better. Okay, so now I have that cut out, and I'm kind of like saving some of these dropout pieces just in case I decide I want to use them. I got to be a little careful with my tape that doesn't pull up the paper because it's that type of a paper. And it's not going to really matter on this end anyway because it's going to be cut off. I just wanted you to see how pretty this die is. Again, my paper is going to be funny. Well, that's okay because we'll just rough that up. All right, it's a paper I use. So anyway, so this whole part comes away. This whole side. Remember I told you if I didn't go down far enough, it would still stay attached down here. So we're going to cut that away. And we have this beautiful edge. And you see all these pieces in here? Those are all fall away pieces. Now, if you want to keep your cake, you can keep that background cake and bring that back in if you want to. And I'm just going to keep it just in case because I've not made this one yet. And just in case I want to have that background piece, I'm just going to keep the parts that would be the cake. And that's these 3 pieces. And you can see what I'm saying. I'll show you really quick. That would be the cake, that would be the cake, And that would be the cake. There's probably this piece that would be the cake too that's teeny tiny, because that's part of the leaf otherwise. Okay, so I'm going to keep it just in case. These 3 pieces, I might not use them, and I can change the colors of these if I want to at the same time. All right, so the rest of the deal is I'm going to be weeding all of these pieces out, and the reason they stayed in is because my paper is thick. I wanted to have a little bit thicker paper because what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to use my pigment powders, and I'm just going to spray or put it on here, and then I'm going to water it down a little bit so I have some color. And so in the background it would still be whatever color I want it to be underneath, but I'm also thinking about adding that cake. So I know I sound like I'm rambling a little bit because I'm kind of like thinking like, how am I for sure going to do with this? But you can just do it basically. You don't have to do any of what I just told you. You can just have it like this on your card, which is really kind of cool. And the reason I also have a little bit of this halo on here is because I use thicker paper. I'm just telling you all the things. If it's something you don't want to do, don't use thicker paper, but I'm wanting to make it more of a watercolor look, so I am using thicker paper, thinking it'll probably be hidden by what I put on top of this. But isn't this a gorgeous die just by itself? Very simple. And if you left this, I want to say the intention is to make it a card this big and run it through and then have your paper. But our die cutting machines are not allowing for some of the bigger dies to do that. So there's ways to work around it and still have gorgeous dies. And this is one of those where I used to be able to cut everything in my grand caliber, and now the Spellbinder has made a much smaller die opening, and you can only pass through one direction, and that happens to be vertical. You can no longer pass through it horizontally. It has taken away a lot of our creativity, I believe. So this is what I made. It is gorgeous, and I'm going to show you how I'm going to make that work just the way it is on a card. Okay, so we're going to give this a try. I'm going to be using Cosmic Shimmer Pixie Powders. This one is Aqua Lagoon, and all I'm going to do is kind of make a mess. Although, like I said, being just white, it's just gorgeous the way it is. So I am just like randomly putting this a little bit, goes a long way, and I want a little bit of blue. And I'm going to be using Ancient Copper, which will give me my kind of shiny gold. And you can kind of see it. It's probably really hard for you to see, because it's not unusual for me to get a lot of pigment powder on my projects, but we'll make it work. And it's going to be a little bit harder for it to run on this, so I could have just actually made this and then die cut it. So there's 2 ways you can do it. So now you're going to see the fun part when I start to spray. You're going to see all the colors start to pop. Now, if I want something more, I could come back in there and add more. But like I said, I used, it's like a watercolor paper. So this is kind of like what I want. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to let that run a little bit. So I'm going to hold that up so you can see how I'm letting that run a little bit. And that's going to be our cover. You can see. Okay, so I'm going to let that set because I don't really want it to be too muddy, but I'm going to let that set. I'm going to give it a little tap of this, pulling up some of it, just a little bit, and that is going to be the front of our card. But I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll continue on. Okay, just so that you can see what that looks like. I'll get a little bit closer, or I can hold it up. It's really pretty. And that's what you can do with any of theirs. And like I said, you can either do it this way, or you can actually do your paper first and then die cut it. So we'll let that dry and I'll be back. Okay, so my it's dried and I'm able to, what I made, my die cut is dried, and I also did put some vellum on the back of it. Again, I wasn't really sure if I was going to add these pieces. I don't think that I am, because I'm going to be putting it right back on the card. And I just decided to make a regular standard card to add this piece to. So it looks like it is part of it. I mean, like I said, initially this was supposed to be just a hangover type of a card, like you make one big piece, but with the die cutting machines going that way, you can't really do one big piece. But this works perfectly. You get the same look, and I think it's just gorgeous. Now, the other thing that I found that is also in the sale in DiesRUs is this sentiment on your wedding day. So I'm also going to be doing that on the inside of the card. So because of that, I decided to make a little bit more paper, doing the same concept that I did for this, to put on the inside. And what's really cool is this, maybe you can't see it, but it's got a little bit of shimmer to it, so it's really pretty. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this down, but not where the vellum is, and then I'm going to go ahead and add that to the inside of the card, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I have the card put together, and I think I'm going to go ahead and put the inserts back into the cake, and then I did make the sentiment for the inside using what I showed you. So I'm going to go ahead and show you really quickly, and I did make a hand bow to go on there. So basically I'm just, like I said, just putting these pieces back inside of the cutouts, the insets, inset it back in rather. I think it pops a little bit more having it put back in. And actually using the little bit heavier cardstock makes it a little bit even more stable than just having regular cardstock insets. Okay, and one more. And I did cut out another one that I think I'm just going to cut around and just actually use it kind of like a die. And I wanted to just show you what it looks like. Again, similar to what we already showed you at the beginning. But I wanted to show you what I'm planning to do. Remember I told you there was a little bit of a halo? I think you can kind of see that. I don't know if you can in here or not. Yeah, you can. I'm going to use that as my guide for cutting around. And then just having this be a die. I think that will be really pretty. It's going to be different because this is like the outside and inside, but I think it'll be really pretty. So I'm going to also make a card doing that, but I'll have a picture probably on Facebook if you want to see it, in the DiesRUs business page. So I just want to thank you for stopping by. I hope that I really liked the sentiment. I think I want to buy more of those myself because I just think they're really delicate and dainty. So anyway, I just want to remind you again that the sale will be over on, let me think, I have to look at my calendar, the right date, on the 21st at 11:59 p.m. or 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So just want to make sure that you knew about it, and that if there was some great dies you'd like to get, they're available. Thanks so much.